What's up, everybody? Passion here again with another video. I wanted to make this video because I am feeling the effect more and more of this as I've tried streaming. By the way, you can check out my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/passion, same as my YouTube username. I've taken a break from streaming recently, but I've especially noticed this since I started streaming multiplayer games like Overwatch or Modern Warfare or League of Legends or stuff like that. And this is just going to be off the top of my head. I don't have a script for this. I just kind of sat down and pressed the record button for this. But let me get this out of the way first, since I know you've probably got some questions by seeing the title and everything. I think esports is awesome, right? Because for years, people have looked down on gaming. They continue to look down on gaming, but esports has kind of helped legitimize gaming for many people. When you have esports on something like ESPN, or you know, you have these discussions over the dinner table about the kid who won $3 million playing Fortnite. You know, like it helps legitimize it for a lot of people and makes it not just a toy. Because I know that for years, when video games were first starting to come out, a lot of the gaming companies didn't want to classify games as electronics, because the electronics industry at the time was very stagnant and very pretty much on the decline. So when Nintendo released the Nintendo Entertainment System, they classified it and put it as a toy in the toy aisle, to kind of get around the stigma of video games. Because back after, you know, the video game crash of 1983, people were wary about video games, and having that classified as a toy rather than the video game console helped, you know, people get over that fear of this is gonna fail just like everything else did. But that, unfortunately, that idea of video games being toys has kind of stuck with it since the 80s. And it's only now with esports that it's starting to kind of like become legitimized as an actual, not just an actual valid form of entertainment, but also as a sport. And as cool as that is, and as cool as esports is, especially with stuff like the Overwatch League, where you have actual, you know, regionalized teams now, and you can root for them just as you would your basketball team or your football team or whatever. And it's not just some arbitrary organization name like FaZe or Optic or something like that. It's actual regionalized teams now. As cool as esports is, and as much fun as it is to watch, I do feel like esports has ruined casual gaming. Because, and I'll get into some of the examples of why in a little bit, but especially this kind of really hit home for me when I was watching the recent Overwatch developer update about competitive open queue. Of course, I don't play competitive anymore myself, but watching the developer update, one of the things he talked about was hero pools, and how where hero pools are effective, for like SR 3500 or above, Jeff Kaplan said that they were going to be basing that off what the Overwatch League pros did. And so that kind of really sunk in, you know, how what is happening on the esports level affects everyone in the game. Of course, granted, it's not going to be everyone in Overwatch, because that's for, you know, the highest tier of play. But basically, the point still stands, is that these games are seeing. I guess the biggest problem with esports is that these games are seeing the amount of money to be made from esports, and are designing games now as esports. They're not designing games to be fun anymore. But another biggest thing that made me realize this was happening was Valorant. Because Valorant is not even out of beta yet. It's not even released to the public yet, and they're already putting together pro esports teams and you know, setting up tournaments for prize money and everything. And the game's not even out yet. So they made it an esport before it ever had the chance to be a fun game. You see what I'm saying? And I worry that multiplayer gaming is just going to become who can create the most lucrative esport. It's not going to be about what's fun, what engages the audience, what creates a passionate fan base about characters or about lore or about fun gameplay. No, it's just going to be about what creates the most engaging and the most lucrative in terms of profit esport to watch. And especially with Valorant, that's the kind of vibe that I got from that, is that they didn't design it to be a fun game to have fun with. They designed it to be an esport and rake in the cash, and that's kind of sad. And it's not, like I said, it's not just Valorant. It's Overwatch. It's League of Legends. It's Fortnite. Fortnite especially was one that really upset me, because you can tell that they initially did design that game to be fun. Like the cartoony aesthetics of it, like all of that. It was designed to be a laid-back, casual, fun experience with friends. And the second that the Overwatch League blew up, Epic Games is thinking to themselves, well, we have to get some of this money too. So they created Fortnite Esports, and I've seen constantly on Twitter how Fortnite Esports is just completely ruining Fortnite. Even the Fortnite pros, even the people in esports, recognize that esports is ruining Fortnite. I mean, they of course think it's ruining the competitive side of it. I argue it's ruining the casual side. So there's a little bit of a difference there, but for the most part, yeah, like it's ruining the game, because you're not really encouraged to have fun anymore. You're basically trying to play just for the sake of competing and for the sake of winning. You're not enjoying your experience when you're there. And that's, yes, you have the pro players that are in the pro leagues and winning all this money and stuff, but I think it also trickles down to the people who are not pro, because especially with stuff with the Overwatch League, they've tried to market that as, well, anyone can go pro. And that is a misleading claim. I think there are people who are just naturally more gifted, and people who have the time to put into it to make themselves better are just a totally different breed from the people who log on at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday night just to with a cold beer just to kick back and chill with friends. Like it's a very different kind of experience, and they've tried marketing it as, well, anyone can go pro, and I don't think that's the case. And what you have is that every single rank even not even in competitive, even in quick play, I've noticed this, and to some extent even the arcade, I've noticed this, is people are no longer playing to have fun. They're playing to get better. They're playing the game to think, well, if I just play this hard enough and I don't have fun and I just keep training mechanically with this hero over and over, and then I'll be in the big time. I'll be going to the Overwatch Contenders, and then I'll be picked up by an Overwatch League team, and then I'll make millions of dollars because I'm an Overwatch pro. And it's just like, pump the brakes. You're not gonna go pro, and in the process, you're gonna be ruining the game with your hardcore competitive can't lose attitude. And for all the people who just want to chill back and have a fun time with games, because I remember back in the day, back before we had online multiplayer, that games were all about fun. That's what they marketed themselves as. They marketed themselves as a way to have fun. And now it's just who can make the most money doing esports, who can shoehorn some kind of competitive element into the game, and strip every little ounce of fun out of it in order to, have that competitive hardcore experience. And I don't want to see games become that route. And if esports had stayed the kind of niche underground thing that it used to be, I think that wouldn't have been a problem. But I think Overwatch League was the one that really, you know, broke ground on that. I mean, League of Legends was doing pretty big things too, but I think that Overwatch League was really the thing that inspired all these other companies to dump all this money into esports. Not even gaming companies. I'm talking just general big sponsors: Coca-Cola, Nissan, T-Mobile, all these other like big, high, profile sponsors dumping all this money in, and making people think that esports is the future of gaming. And I would rather it not be. I'd rather games stay fun, and if you want to, I don't want the only way to have fun in a game to be playing a single player game, which are becoming lesser and lesser of things because people are seeing the potential for monetization with multiplayer games, and they're making less and less and less single player games nowadays. Is all multiplayer, and even the games that do have a single player component are mostly focused on the multiplayer anyway. So I worry that, that the idea of sitting down and playing a game as something you do for fun is going to die, because it's going to be thought of in the way that you sit down and it's basically just going to be, another job. Basically, it's not going to be anything you do for any kind of enjoyment. It's just going to be, sit down, grind, put in your 9 to 5 work. Even more case in esports, they generally work for like 10 to 12 hours a day. But put in your work and log off, and it's not going to be anything you do for fun. And that's kind of upsetting to me as a gamer. I would like, because especially something with Overwatch, because I've been getting back into playing Overwatch recently, and Overwatch has such amazing characters and an amazing world and an amazing story and all this great lore they've built up behind it, and the art style and the interactions and the animation and everything is just so amazing in that game, and it's all being ignored and thrown away by the player base because it's all about who can get the most kills and who can get the most objectives and who can get the most wins and who's going to go pro. And that's just irritating to me, that all this love that has gone into this world that Blizzard has helped make is just completely disregarded for the core competitive elements of the game. And that's kind of just sad to me. And I don't really know where further to go with this. I just hope that, that there can still continue to be fun video games is what I want. It's fun, especially fun multiplayer video games. I would love to see a company come out with a multiplayer PvP game and absolutely denounce doing any kind of esport with it. That would make me incredibly happy. I would love for a new game to come out and the game company says, even if people are begging them for some kind of competitive mode or competitive league for esports, I'd say I'd be happy to hear them say, no, we are not going to support that because it ruins the integrity of the game. It ruins everything we've tried to build here for the enjoyment of our player base. It basically, throws all that away. And I'm sure that there'd be grassroots esports leagues built up around it anyway, regardless. But if the game is not fine-tuned for esports like all these other ones are trying to do because they're trying to rake in that esport money, then I'm sure that grassroots competitive scene for that game would die. Because, they would have a lot of issues with, trying to actually set up matches and stuff. So, this is just a plea, I guess, for, game companies to remember what games are supposed to be and not turn them into work or turn them into another, profit margin. I mean, I guess they've always been a profit margin, but like not sacrifice the integrity of the world and the characters and the fun of the game just to make a profit. But that's really all I had to say on the matter. I've been talking for 15 minutes. I was worried I wasn't even going to get a 5-minute video out of this, but 15 minutes is good with me. I'll leave it here. I do have some more content coming out on some of my other channels, so be on the lookout for that. And as always, I'm Passion. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Baby, don't